AM 630. WMAL.
Good Wednesday morning to you, 8:37 on WMAL. Brian Neiman, Brian Wilson with you. And it's going to be a fun week here in D.C., especially with the big debate tomorrow night.
Yep.
Reince Priebus joins us now, chairman of the Republican National Committee. Reince, how are you? Hey, is there a little extra pep in your step these days? I mean, the polls have swung dramatically since the big debates. You feeling good about November 6th right now, more so than you did a couple weeks ago?
We feel great. I mean, obviously, boy, it's nice to have a good week, isn't it? Yeah. Now it's about a good 2 weeks, so we just need to make it a good 5 weeks in a row, and then we'll be celebrating in November. But, you know, I think it's always good not to get too high or too low, and it's still a long time to go. But I'll put it this way. I mean, seriously, the debate really did. It was a game changer. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it allowed us to illustrate Mitt Romney unfiltered to the American people with passion and heart, as opposed to the president, who, you know, really just, and he's just been so plasticized lately, and you can't keep playing small ball, and eventually it just gets so old and stale, and people see what sort of an uninspiring, meandering performance is all about, and it's really just because there's not a safe zone there for the president.
Well, you're around it all the time. I mean, what has it meant to the campaign as far as just the mood there? What has it meant to the candidates and also for fundraising?
Well, the mood is great. I mean, the mood was never, you know, was never down as reported. It was always sort of like, look, we got 5 weeks to go. We got to do our thing. We got to win every day. But now it's obviously it lifts you up, because the rallies we're having, you know, 13 to 15,000 people almost at every single rally, no matter who it is, Mitt or Paul. And we've got these victory centers around the country, especially across the river in Virginia, where, I mean, it has picked up, and we're trying to calculate it to put some real numbers to it, but and a lot of it too is we're getting closer to the election, so you naturally have more people interested. But as soon as that debate was over, you could see, and we've calculated about a 63 to 65% increase in volunteer turnout at the victory center.
Wow!
Starting on that next day, and so it's been unbelievable. We've broken records. We think that we're going to make as many personal one-on-one phone calls and door knocks. We're going to make more than 04 and 08 combined.
That's amazing.
Hard to imagine, but it's true. That's what's happening.
So you've got the mo then, right?
We feel like we've got the mo. And my view is that, though, you know, is around here at the RNC and on the campaign, and I know Matt Rhodes up in Boston is saying the same thing, that we just need to know what the mission is for today. What are we doing today? How do we win the day, win tomorrow, win the week, you know, get into the weekend on volunteers, and then we start next week, and we win this week, you know, and that's just the way we got to kind of look at it. It's sort of like those boring interviews that you see, you know, NFL players give, you know, about winning one game at a time. But it really is true. I mean, it's not a line. It's the truth.
All right, let me ask you this question. How is that translating into the fundraising arena? Because one hears the president is raising money at a pretty good rate. Are you keeping up? And will you have all that you need going into the final stretch?
Yeah, we're keeping up. You know, I think that there's probably two storylines on the money. One, clearly the president's raising boatloads of money. I mean, I think we've all been honest about that. We've been calling him the billion-dollar campaigner or president for a couple of years now. So we all kind of, this is not a surprise, but I think we'd also have to admit that people have been surprised by how much money Mitt Romney and the Republican National Committee have been able to put together over the last 2 years, and we're right on their heels, and we will be on their heels. Now, the money here, I would say, has picked up extraordinarily so over the last week. I mean, it has really picked up. Obviously, the week we had last week was extremely helpful, but we're going to break our own record. So we may not be right where the president is, but certainly between the president, the DNC, Mitt Romney, and the RNC, I think we're going to be either at where they're at or ahead of them for the last couple of months. So we'll see. I mean, the RNC has been, you know, very flush with cash. We finished the last reporting period with $77 million in the bank. The DNC finished with $7 million. I don't know if you saw the Washington Post yesterday.
I did see it.
They're in debt.
So they're spending their money, they're burning their money pretty fast. Okay, let me ask you this, though. Can you give me a handicap of the big vice presidential debate scheduled for tomorrow?
Well, as you know, I mean, Paul's a good buddy from Wisconsin, and I was his chairman for years, so I know him well. He's always performed. He has always stepped up to the plate in clutch situation. He will hit the ball hard, and he will perform and meet everyone's expectations. However, I think it would be silly for us to discount. I think Joe Biden's very good at debating. I think he's done it a million times. As I've said before, he's been debating since the early 1900s, I think. So he's done about 18 or 19 of these types of debates. I mean, he's obviously Sarah Palin, but he also ran for president and has been in a number of those debates. So, look, I think Joe Biden's pretty relatable. My own personal view, other people probably don't agree with me, but I think he's more relatable, more a regular guy, kind of a person that middle America understands and appreciates his tone and relatability. I think he's good at it. So I think it's going to be two different people on different missions. I think that Joe Biden is going to be on the mission to make up as much ground as he possibly can. So we'll see how he plays it. It'll be an interesting night, that's for sure.
All right, Reince Priebus, always a pleasure to have you. Please come back.
Thank you, guys.
Talk to